Hey guys, let's talk about cause effect. I love cause effect. The goal with this series is, as a purpose, it's very versatile and it lends itself quite well to people who come up with that idea of, I don't know what to say. The thing I love the most about cause effect is that it can get into so much cool nitty gritty of an issue. And also, it kind of organizes itself. It lets you get into all the wonderful little causes. If you were to look at, I don't know, let's say we're going back to definition. We're defining Snapchat again. Let's pretend, right? But we're going to talk about Snapchat as a cause effect. Maybe we'll talk about the causes of Snapchat. What created Snapchat? We can talk only not about how was it specifically formed by the people who created the program and the website, but also what were the societal needs that it filled. Ooh, that's fun. And we can also talk about the effects, both positive and the negative, the immediate effects on society as well as the more long-term effects. We can get into all sorts of cool future-proofing and talking about the ideas that could happen. I love cause effect. I absolutely love cause effect. I find myself using cause effect at least half the time that I write something. So let's talk about cause effect then. The most basic thing is an analysis of why something happens. If you want to talk about an analysis of how something happens, you start to look at a purpose like process writing, the process of how something happens. Cause effect doesn't care as much about how as it does about why. Cause effect essays look at causes, they describe effects, or they could do both. There's a paragraph in the very beginning of the chapter in your book on 321 where a person talks about the effects of a technological advance on a village in India. It's very interesting. Now, cause effect, like narration, links situations and events together in time. Causes, of course, precede effects because we aren't living in the fourth dimension. But causality is about more than that. It's about more than sequence. Cause and effect explains why something happened or is happening and predicts what will happen as a result. So sometimes you can get many causes that are responsible for a single effect. For example, I have a couple of examples coming up here in which we can see many elements that contribute to an individual's decision to leave their country of origin for America. So let's look at a causal chain. This is one way to visualize a causal chain. Now you're going to be hearing that phrase from me a lot, so do not forget a causal chain. Any cause can become an effect, and any effect can become a cause. All right, so my grandmother died 2 nights ago. As a result, my house was full of family for 2 days. As a result, I missed class. As a result, I didn't get the notes. As a result, I failed my English test. Anything can become a cause or an effect. Why didn't I check the teacher's wiki? Because I missed class, because my house was full of family for 2 days. Why did my grandmother pass away 2 nights ago? Because she's been sick. Why has she been sick? Because she lives in a crappy nursing home. Why does she live in a crappy nursing home? Because we couldn't afford anything better. Why can't we afford anything better? Because the economy sucks. Why does the economy suck? Because the rich people are awful. We can go all the way back. So when we're thinking about an analysis of why something happens and we start thinking about causality, one event leading to multiple effects, we start to get to some interesting concepts. Your book has a really great causal chain where we have multiple causes creating one effect, as I mentioned earlier about a minute ago. Immigrants coming to the United States. This is the event, all right? What causes it? Well, one cause might be political repression in their home country. Another cause might be a desire to further your education. Maybe you have a desire to join your family in the United States currently, or a desire for greater economic opportunity, or a desire for greater religious freedom. Any and all of these things might contribute to a single idea: immigrants coming to the United States. Now, of course, by the same token, immigrants coming to the United States is a singular event that can create a whole series of effects. For example, when immigrants come to the United States, there's a diversity of culture that comes up. Without immigrants coming to the United States, we don't get to know what Cinco de Mayo is, which is a uniquely American thing, honestly. We also get demands for new goods and services. We get a good uptick on the economy. We get more competition for jobs, good or bad. We get challenges to the existing educational system. My favorite example is the Hmong people. The Hmong people come and they have a beautiful, wonderful, gorgeous language. Not a whole lot of written language. There are huge challenges to the existing educational system. There's also a big effect of immigrants coming to the United States, political agenda. What political agendas are created as an effect of immigrants coming to the United States? Now, of course, each one of those effects can create a whole series of all new causes. And if you were to choose to write a large essay on a cause effect, you could chain that bad boy all the way down the line. Here's another way of looking at cause effect. I like this style. It's called the fishbone. Don't forget that. The fishbone. The fishbone is a really cool way of visualizing just how much a single event can spiderweb out into a whole series of causal chains. Let's look at materials. Okay, I lost the keys, so my car won't start. Or I'm out of gas and the car won't start. Or methods. Maybe I'm not pressing the accelerator and the car won't start. Or I've been locked out of my car and the car won't start. They all lead to this effect, and it could be any one of these things, or all of these things, all at once, in some weird, horrifying thing. I lost the keys, so I'm locked out of my car, so I can't press the accelerator, so I can't check that I'm out of gas, so I can't do any preventative maintenance, so I can't train for anything, so I can't check my battery cables. It's a really wonderful little thing to kind of look at multiple versions. Now, if I were to write an essay, a cause-effect essay, maybe my basic event that I'm starting with is the car won't start. Why won't the car won't start? And I can create a whole series of claims built around that. The car won't start because of a lack of materials. Here are the different types of lacks of materials. And I can create a sub-purpose of exemplification within that. Maybe I can talk about how the machine can be faulty, and that's why a car might not start. The starter could be broken. The battery could be dead. I could even get deeper. Why might the battery be dead? Why might the starter be broken? I'm hoping you can see the complexity of what we can get into on this. So, even when you've identified several causes of a particular event, one tends to be more important than the others. And that's what you call the main cause. The main cause is the one that was the most significant. Going back to our immigrant example, immigrants coming to the United States, maybe all of the above. And maybe if I were to write an essay about what causes immigration to the United States, I would include all of the above. But my main cause would be one of them. The contributory causes would be things that are less important. Maybe I'm analyzing why my grandparents came to the United States, and there was all those reasons. But the most important cause to them coming to the United States was that economic opportunity. I actually have no idea. You can also have, because cause-effect is very much negotiated with time, immediate and remote causes. The immediate causes are the things that closely precede an effect. They're easy to recognize. Now, the remote causes are less obvious. They're the ones that involve going into the past or going far away. Let's pretend I snap one day and I clock one of you right in the face. It would never happen, but let's pretend. The immediate cause might be something basic. Oh, I have a better idea. Let me use a real story. A few years ago I saw this. A teacher who is no longer there just because the person's retired. One day, one of my kids out there working in the breakout, and the teacher just starts yelling at him, screaming at him about how he's sick of the lack of respect and all this stuff. Now, the immediate cause was simple. The kid was being kind of a jerk. He was throwing pencils up at the ceiling and just being stupid in general. Very immediate cause. This is what caused that teacher to blow up out. There are more remote causes, though. This teacher was going through a divorce. This teacher's adult children didn't really want anything to do with him anymore for a lot of other reasons. This person had just found out that he was very sick. This person was tired that day. All of these things become much less obvious because they're in the past, they're far away, but they still cause the blow up at the kid. That's way better than imagine me hitting one of you. That's going to give me bad dreams. Now, just like we can have immediate and remote causes, we can also have immediate and remote effects. Let's pretend you get an A in this class. The immediate effect, you feel happy. Great, you got an A, you got through this nonsense and you can move on. The remote effects are less obvious because it involves a domino effect, or else it's far in the future. I'm recording this in September of 2017. I know, right? You're probably listening to this not too long after, depending on who you are. And just today I got an email from a kid, and it really made my day. It was one of those I had something in my eye moments. And the email was, "Hello, Mr. Westrom. I really miss you, and I'm very happy that I had your class, because as a result, it's making stuff at college so much more manageable because I've done this before." that's when we start thinking. She got an A in the class, and we start thinking to the more remote effects. The remote effects for her for getting an A in the class is that college becomes much easier. She doesn't have a problem writing a 12-page paper. She's done it 3 times. She doesn't have a problem asking deeper discussion questions because she's done it 100 times. These are domino effects. As a result, she's going to be a much more successful student. She's going to be a much more successful professional, so on and so on and so on. Let's look at another version of a causal chain. Here's the event, auto accidents. What causes auto accidents? Well, a lot of things cause auto accidents. We can have poor weather conditions. We could also have distractions. Texting and driving, don't do it. You could also have just plain going too fast or going too slow. If you're driving 30 miles an hour in the fast lane, shame on you. Or maybe it's that horrible, horrible thing, you're just drunk. Here's another great one. I just love these examples. I can't get over how much I love cause effect. It is just my favorite thing. Why is Jason in the hospital? Well, he has a leg infection. Why does he have a leg infection? He cut his leg and it got infected. Why does he have a cut? Well, he has a very strange idea of fun. He was playing in the junkyard next to his apartment. He fell on some jagged steel there. He's got tetanus. Okay, why was he playing in a junkyard? Well, neighborhood's run down. Kids play there. There's no one there to supervise them. Everybody's working. Why does he live in that neighborhood? Well, his parents can't afford a better place to live. Why can't they? Well, his dad is unemployed. His mom is really sick. His mom's got MS. What can you do with that? Well, why is his dad unemployed? Well, he can't find a job. But why? But why? But why? But why? And we can go back. We can go back all the way to the foundation of the freaking world and still have fruit for the tree. It can be very easy to fall into this fallacy, which is called post hoc reasoning when you're doing cause effect. Post hoc reasoning is simple. It's an illogical assumption that just because an event preceded another event, the 2 events are related. For example, I snapped my fingers 3 times and it rained that night. Oh, the 2 must be related. Oh, a black cat crossed my path. Ooh. The couple that are my favorites here. Rocks are in my yard and there's been a lack of tiger attacks. I've never once been attacked by a tiger. Must be the rocks in my yard. Or, I love this one. I've actually started playing stupid when people ask me if I know anything about computers because I'm sick of this. They install a piece of software and the computer freezes and it must be the software. Or I pull out their crappy antiviruses and put in something that makes sense and, oh, my computer died. No, it's because your computer's 10 years old. It has nothing to do with that antivirus. Or my absolute favorite, Mrs. Allmendinger. When she gets a cold, she eats cloves of garlic. I'm not joking. I couldn't make it up, and it would be disgusting. It's disgusting to imagine. She eats entire cloves of garlic, and her cold goes away. Well, golly, those 2 must be related. And of course, every time we do cause effect, I always buzz into her room and start giggling at her about this. So you see Allmendinger, you tell her to keep eating that garlic. This is in your book. It's on page 338. I don't know if you've really noticed this, but at the end of each chapter, there's always a visual argument to look at. And this one's great. It's a Major League Baseball photo brawl. I like this one. And part of the reason I like this one a lot is because I love cause effect. But another reason I like it is because I know nothing about sports. I have no idea what this is. I mean, the book doesn't help me. It doesn't tell me what's going on, like who's what, and I just don't care enough to look. Which lets me use my imagination. I look at this. A bunch of baseball players fighting, okay? Why are they fighting? Well, something happened. I see 2 teams there. They must have gotten in a fight about something. Why are they in a fight about something? Maybe because it's hot out. Maybe because they're overpaid, entitled, spoiled athletes, and any little stupid thing will set them off. Or maybe they're all jacked up on steroids. It's interesting. You can look at this photo and you can think to yourself, what could have caused this? What are the remote causes? What are the immediate causes? The immediate cause might have been this dude in the middle spit on that guy in the hat's shoe. Maybe there are more remote causes. Maybe that guy in the middle there, the one with the mustache, kind of looks like Burt Reynolds. Maybe that guy is struggling with his child. Maybe his son is having issues potty training. Maybe he's been on edge lately. Maybe he hasn't been sleeping so well. Maybe he's losing his marriage. It could be all sorts of things, and thinking about this is just fascinating to me. You can also think about what outcomes could come out of this fight. As a result of this, what do we get? We can think not only in terms of the fines that these players might incur, or suspensions, or even being fired, but we can also think in terms of public outcry as a result of this. Ooh, violence on sports. Ooh, scary. We can also think in terms of much more remote effects, such as the waning popularity of baseball as a result of this type of behavior. We can also think about the fight on this field as part of a causal chain and diagram it. I really like, for cause effect, I'm normally not a visual learner, but for cause effect, I love kind of diagramming the chain of events and use the arrows and the fishbones to kind of put things together and just see how the stuff connects together. You got to be careful about not doing it too much, though. If you do it too much, you end up looking crazy. So here's a wonderful example of cause effect in action. I love video games. I'm a nerd. I don't know if you know that, but Zoe Quinn, she's a video game developer. She makes some really interesting indie games. And she had an ex-boyfriend who published a lengthy blog post, basically slut-shaming her, calling her a whore, because he says she only received positive reviews because she's sleeping with a reviewer. Now, within 12 hours of this, I'm talking about, like, he posted it before he went to bed. By the time he woke up from his stupid sleep, people were on fire about how all her games are garbage. She only gets them made due to quote-unquote favors. And within 24 hours, her ex-boyfriend, accidentally left it on the ground. Her address and phone number gets leaked out. It gets worse. Now, it was very quickly determined that, yeah, she went on a date or two with a reviewer, but he had nothing to do with ever reviewing any of her games. Now, this didn't matter. Nobody cared when they learned about that. They did not care. Why? She's a woman who's in video games, and damn it, we have to ruin her. And that's what we call Gamergate. If you want to look for something horrifying that'll make you lose some sleep, hashtag Gamergate. Oh my God. So let's look at a few things that we saw in terms of immediate effects of this. Hey, look, it's Wikipedia. Died 2014. Oh God, that is horrifying to do to somebody, isn't it? What does it take? What kind of person would you have to be to do this to somebody you don't know? What kind of person would you have to be to think that because she's a woman in video games, she somehow, quote-unquote, deserves this? You start to look back not only at the immediate causes, oh, well, it's just entitled nerds on the internet who are sniping because they can get away with it, and start to get deeper into it, and start to get into the sexism inherent in the STEM industries. Video game designers, for those of you interested in video game design, please change it. It's a fascinating field, but good Lord, it is sexist. If you become a woman in the video game industry in any capacity, oh God, I'm so sorry. Now, she had a friend, colleague, whatever, a colleague, I guess would be the way to put it, and I'm subscribed to her YouTube channel, Feminist Frequency. Her name is Anita Sarkeesian. She's published a whole series of amazing videos over the last 6 or 8 years, and every once in a while, you see some critical things of her. Now, she posts things like the sexism in video games. For example, the way female characters are dressed and how it is unfair, that kind of thing. She also spends a lot of time talking about the objectification of women in, for example, the Grand Theft Auto series, which is where I first heard of her. Now, as a result of all this, she defended Zoe Quinn, and she was very quickly forced out of her own home due to death threats over her video game reviews. Death threats over video games. That's a little far. And to make it even worse, this is Zombie Quinn herself, Zoe Quinn. FYI, if you're part of Gamergate and anti-harassment, know that saying, hey, don't harass, isn't working, hasn't worked, and never will. Why not? I thought we were taught as little children to be good to each other. This was the second call I got tonight, by the way. This shit hasn't slowed down or stopped. I've just stopped talking about it. Cool. Mourning a person's suicide and still getting 4:30 phone calls from randos. These people exist, and these are not people that, they don't fit that stereotype of live in the basement and are scared of girls or something like that. These are the people we work with. These are the people we go to school with. These might be the people we think of as friends. Oh God, I hope it's not you. What creates this mindset? And I ask partly because it hurts to think about, but partly because it honestly confuses me, and it's something that's interesting to think about. For those of you interested in topics for your persuasive essay, this idea of sexism in the STEM industry is something to think about. So to get away from all that doom and gloom, and if you're interested in Zoe Quinn, please look her up. She's made some amazingly good games. She's also just an interesting person, and Anita Sarkeesian as well. Very fascinating videos. Stay away from the critical videos that always come up in them. If you liked this, please watch that. Instead, look at structuring a cause-effect essay on page 329. To very quickly recap, you have your introduction. Your thesis might be dealing with, identifying here's what the main cause was and here's what the supporting causes were. Here's what the main effect was, but there are these other deeper effects. Also, please look at revision. I can't stress this enough. When we do our larger papers, I always input peer review opportunities, and those are great, but nothing beats reviewing yourself and really honestly looking at your own writing and asking, does your assignment call for cause effect? Does your essay have a stated thesis that indicates whether you're looking at cause effect? Have you distinguished between those immediate or more remote causes? And it pays a lot to look at this revision. Also look at editing, ways to edit, again, 71, 74, and 76 of your book, but please pay close attention because, for example, there's a difference between affect, A-F-F-E-C-T, and effect, E-F-F-E-C-T. Little things like that can really hurt you, especially with our larger essays. We have a student sample on page 333. Don't you love that? It's all about the Irish famine. Ooh, great essay. Actually, it's a horrifying event, but it has the question of the 1840s were volunteer a volatile year in Europe. Choose one social, political, or economic event that occurred during those years, analyze its causes, and briefly note how the event influenced later developments in European history. So what we're seeing here is a cause-effect essay dealing with the Irish famine. Then, of course, we have grammar and context, which always exists in these chapters. It's on page 332. And this grammar and context deals with the words affect versus effect. And it's the same sort of thing as, your, and your, two, and two, and that sort of thing. It's a simple mistake that can really harm your efficacy as a writer, as well as the clarity of what you're saying, and it can hurt your grade. Please pay attention to them.